From Boston, Massachusetts, to Adelaide, Australia, and everywhere in between. Talking local and national sports and just about anything discussed in a tavern. Broadcasting from South Lyon, Michigan. Welcome to Easyspeak at Speakeasy330 with your hosts, Rich and Tom.
Good evening. Welcome to the Easyspeak podcast on a special Saturday night edition. Due to some scheduling conflicts, we had to do it tonight instead of tomorrow night, but nonetheless, we're here tonight and excited about the show. We're going to talk about the Big Ten schedule drop for 2024 and 2025 with the addition of USC and UCLA coming into the fold. So we'll hit on Michigan's schedule. We're going to hit on Michigan State, and we have a special guest today that's going to talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. I know, guys, I'm sorry, but we have to try and stay non-biased, but we'll hit on that. And big news out of the golfing world, LIV, PGA, and the DP World kind of forming one big umbrella. Hasn't happened yet. Nothing's finalized. So we're going to kind of tackle this a different way tonight. We're going to tackle this as a non-big golf fan. So none of us are really big-time golf fans. So we're kind of on the outside looking in. So we're going to talk about it in as regards as that is concerned. Another one we're going to hit on that we're not really big fans of, and shocking, we're going to hit soccer, folks. You know it's coming full circle when we're talking soccer, but big-time news, Lionel Messi is going to play for Inter Miami of the MLS. So we're going to talk about what that really means for the MLS and moving forward. Is it going to really bring a lot of positive energy to that league? And then later on in the show, we're going to continue on our Misunderstood series, focusing on men's mental health and just issues that we are faced with every day. Tonight, we're going to talk about some of the struggles that we have as men being parents and step parents. So, you don't want to miss that. It's going to be really cool. So we're all going to talk on that. But without further ado, we're going to bring in the co-hosts here. Didn't think he was going to make it. He's a little under the weather, but we're glad he's here. Mr. Rich Jasper, what's up, my friend?
Hey, Tom, how you doing? Besides the fact I feel like shit today. Yeah, I sent you guys a text about an hour ago saying I don't think I'm going to do it. And then I was sitting here and I wrote a bunch of notes down for today, some talking points on what we have. And it's like I did all that work. I might as well just suck it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the weather. It's the season. Christina's dealing with it right now, too. It sucks. But we're glad.
I think it's the Canadian wildfires, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what? The air quality's been really bad, so that would make a lot of sense. You don't really realize it until you look down the street and you really can see the haze. But
well, I'll tell you right now. Like normally when I drive to work in the morning, I take Ford Road down, going east, and you can see the skyline of Detroit. You couldn't even see it the other day. It was all hazed out. So
yeah, it's wild. Pardon the pun. It's wild, but hopefully that starts to dissipate a little bit. I'm surprised it hasn't affected my asthma, but I rarely ever leave the house, so that's a whole nother story. But okay. I think we know by now what that means. What does that sound mean?
Somebody's got internet.
Mr. JP.
Somebody's got internet.
Yeah. My Pornhub subscription kind of blew my server last week, so I apologize to everybody.
You had to clear your cookies and cache to get on tonight?
Yeah, literally.
Well, we're glad you're coming from the good internet. We can hear you loud and clear. I do want to introduce our special guest tonight really quick. He is we consider him the Easyspeak super fan. He's been very loyal. He's followed us, and he's had a lot of good words, and so we have invited him into the Speakeasy tonight to talk some college football. Mr. Tim, how we doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Glad to be a part of it. So what do you think about the Speakeasy? This is your first time in here.
It's It needs some Ohio State decorations, but it's very beautiful.
Well,
you look better. You look a lot better in blue and gold. That's coming from a hetero straight man.
I got the flag. Right
I was just gonna say over his left shoulder is the proper letter.
Tom, maybe you can put that flag behind that Notre Dame flag.
Well, you guys know what my motto is.
That's a lie.
You buy it, I fly it. But there's one exception. But we're not going down that road. We're not going down that road. It's not that type of show.
You don't know
that. You already know that. So, without any further ado, let's get right to the meat and potatoes here. The Big Ten released their schedule, including the UCLA Bruins and USC Trojans joining the fray next year. This is pretty big. This is really big for the Big Ten. This makes them pretty much 1A next to the SEC, in my opinion. I can see it to where they're going to be just as good as the SEC within the next 5 years, because I think there'll be more teams jumping into the mix. Obviously, we're not going to see that within the next 2 or 3, being the schedules have already been released. But JP, we'll start with you. You saw the schedule release. You saw the fact that there's no more division starting in 2024. What was your initial thought when you read that?
Well, I think it's a good thing. You're getting rid of the divisions. Obviously, your conference championship's going to be decided by the 2 best teams in the conference. So I think that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean,
it's clearly the last, 5-6 years, the best teams have been in the East, and the West kind of lumped into the Big Ten championship, and it just doesn't make for a good competitive game. And Big Ten is always getting criticized enough about where we think they should be compared to other conferences. So when you have a championship game that just doesn't add up, it's tough. Rich, I'll talk to you, ask you the same question with the fact that there's no more conferences. Do you think that levels the playing field, and so we're going to guarantee to get a true champion?
Well, and I agree. You'll get the best of the best in the Big Ten championship game. Here's the only thing that I personally think that they should maybe have held off maybe a couple of years, maybe to allow the USC UCLA go ahead and take the West, right? And play that matchup, right? Play that East Coast, West Coast matchup for a Big Ten championship. But regardless, you do want the 2 best teams representing for that, whether they're both out of the West, whether they're both out of the East, however it may be. I think maybe I'll be honest with you. I think UCLA is going to probably far exceed expectations when it comes to where they're going to seed at once it all shakes out in the first couple of years.
You said UCLA or USC?
USC.
Oh, yeah.
USC.
I mean, they're coming in.
That's the only team I worry about out of the West now. Out of that is, Ohio State. I know Tim's probably sitting there doing twirlies in his chair. Probably, I can't believe he's hosing on him. But, if they would have left it clutches pearls. But if they would have left it, divisions East and West, at least for a couple, maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons or whatever, I think that would really gain some traction of maybe attracting some other teams to join the Big Ten. Because like, okay, well, geographically speaking, we're more of a West team. And then you see some of those teams playing on the big stage on Monday night or Saturday after Sunday at 8:00 p.m. in Indy. And, I think they should have held off on that, but it ain't my division, but I see where they're coming from.
I personally think they were trying to get ahead of the SEC because there had been talks of the SEC dumping conferences. So I think the Big Ten was like, all right, we want to kind of set the model. And Tim, I'll go to you with this question here. Do you see other major conferences, a la the SEC, ACC, if they exist within the next 5 years? Do you think that they'll kind of adopt the same model?
I really don't think they're going to. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea of getting rid of divisions the way they are, because with rivalries like Ohio State, Michigan, you're going to get a lot of back-to-back games. Would you guys really want to go play Ohio State in Indianapolis after you guys planted the flag in the horseshoe last year?
Yeah, because we'll plan it in Indianapolis too.
Well, if you look at that schedule, it seems like it might not be the last game of the season. But irregardless, I personally would have had no problem with it, because the best two teams in the Big Ten were Michigan and Ohio State.
I'm just not a fan of the back-to-back things. Like if they move the game into the middle of the season, then maybe it's a little better. But playing back-to-back weeks is going to take away from the rivalry a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Because the first game will mean nothing knowing you're going to play the second week for the championship.
If they're both coming in like they did last year, that would definitely be the case. I guess looking at the fact that UCLA, USC, West Coast teams coming all the way across country for the most part, they're going to be playing a lot of games, 9 a.m., 11 or 8 a.m. local kickoff for their fans. Is this going to really make it more apt for these teams to travel, more of their fans to travel with their teams? You think there'll be more stadiums filled with, say, USC fans, JP?
No, I don't really see it being that big of a difference. I know that they've mentioned, I think for the guys maybe, but all in all, I think these schools are looking for more revenue and more TV exposure, because as it sits right now, we don't watch a lot of West Coast games. So I think physically, with the time zones and everything else for the players, it may be something to get a hurdle, but they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, that is tough. Like if you want to see the prime time game right now, the Pac-12 at night, I mean, that's a 10:30 kickoff locally, and not a lot of people.
By the time you get to Pac-12 after dark, I mean, you're done for the day. I mean, you've already watched 2 or 3 games. It's over.
You've already had your beers and everything like that.
Yeah, you're coming down for like the third time. So, Rich, 2 years, UCLA, USC going to be in the Big Ten. The rumor has always been they want it to grow even further. Do you think with the exposure that I think these two teams are going to get by playing in the Big Ten for that very reason, because they won't be on so late, do you think more Pac-12 teams are going to want to reach out to the Big Ten and say, hey, I think we want to be a part of it?
I don't know if they're going to necessarily reach out. Everybody's going to reach out to the Big Ten per se, but I think that they're going to, they've forged relationships and bonds, those athletic directors and the conferences. I'm sure, there'll be some chatter about, hey, look, our revenue stream has gone up, 75% just by making this move. Yeah, it's an inconvenience for our fans for a couple of games out of the year to where, our kickoff is 9 a.m. locally, which I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Dollars and cents wise, you might see a lot more teams reaching out, not only to the Big Ten, but you might see them, reaching out maybe to the Big 12, or you'll see maybe some to the Mountain West or something like that. They might merge a couple of them together and, form a bigger division on its own out there.
So let's say the Big Ten says, okay, we're going to add 2 teams. Where do you think, Rich, what 2 teams fits the mold of the Big Ten, or what 2 teams would you really like to see join the conference?
If I had my choice and it was a slam dunk and they were going to say yes, irregardless, I would say Oregon and Utah. I would probably take those 2.
Yeah, that having Oregon would be really good in the Big Ten with their sponsorship with Nike. Tim, what 2 teams would you say either fit the mold or you would like to see join the conference?
I'm going to copycat Rich on the Oregon, but I think they're going to bring in Washington as well. and have that Northwest rivalry with Washington and Oregon still.
Yeah, because they're doing a really good job of keeping the rivalries intact. So that definitely would make a lot of sense in that play. JP, what do you think?
Well, I think with the new format, somebody's going to force Notre Dame's hand, and geographically, it makes sense to add Notre Dame to the Big Ten. And I do like the Oregon. I mean, if we're going to go out there, maybe grab another independent BYU. That'd be a good addition.
Yeah, those Mormons. Ooh, boy, Rich, you got your finger up. You want to chime in?
Yeah. So you mentioned Notre Dame this past week. Notre Dame announced a new athletic director who happened to be some guy that was a part of NBC. And he said that he really likes how Notre Dame is independent and he's going to keep them that way. So
big mistake.
But exactly. I think they're losing out on
it's going to be possible.
In 5 years, my theory is there's going to be 2 super conferences, Big Ten, SEC. And if you want to play for a national championship, I really feel like it's going to come out of those 2 conferences.
Yeah, so, I think they're going to force his hand into it. I mean, he's come out and said that he likes the direction of Notre Dame being an independent, team and everything like that. No conference affiliation. But I think in the long run, I think if he holds ground to that, I think Notre Dame is really going to really fall behind the 8 ball when it comes to that, because there's going to be teams that are maybe not as good as Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Leapfrog them up, and then that way, and then but by the time those teams get there, Notre Dame's going to be standing there like Oliver with his bowl asking for more porridge, and they're going to say, we're out, we're out, and so are you. So
the thing that intrigues
that's my analogy for today.
Oh, there you go. And if anyone's been following the show and our reels, Rich is filled with analogies, and I think we need to get a book of Rich analogies. Look for it at your local grocers magazine, whatever. What intrigues me with Notre Dame is the fact that the Big Ten went out and got a contract with Peacock. That tells me that you could be right, Rich. You're going to force their hands. I think the Big Ten was like, listen, we're creeping into your territory. Whether you like it or not, we're kind of going to force you to join us, or you're going to be left in the dust. So I do think there is some validity to that, since the Big Ten part of their massive TV deal was Peacock. So, but yeah, I as much as I'm not a fan of Notre Dame, geographically it makes sense. They definitely fit the mold of a Big Ten team. If not Oregon, I also look at a school like Pitt, or North Carolina. They kind of fit that mold. Pocket presence, quarterback, heavy run. So even though Pat Narduzzi is a total bonehead for going after prime time, I think it makes sense to bring maybe a Pitt into the fold. But we'll see. Nothing's going to happen until after the 2025 season, which kind of surprises me. I thought for sure there would be a little bit more activity before that, but that's not the case. So we're going to kind of start this schedule, and we'll start with our boys in blue. They've got quite a schedule. I think the guy that's sitting across the table from me predicted that the Texas game wouldn't happen. Somebody was going to buy their way out of it, but I disagree with him. I think this is a game that's going to be a ratings juggernaut. It'll be at ABC on ESPN, or no, it won't be on ESPN. It'll be a primetime game on CBS. No question about it. So, and I on our Facebook feed, we posted this schedule here, and one of the things big games I highlighted were Texas and home games, UCLA and Wisconsin, and we got a comment that said, I love how you didn't think Michigan State was a big game. Well, I mean, is it really? JP, what do you think about this schedule? clearly we're not going to have J.J. McCarthy. The concession is we're not going to have J.J. McCarthy. Maybe we're going to have orgies in the end zone. Maybe we're going to have the new kid coming in. But do you see the schedule as something that, that is this schedule look like a tall task for Michigan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, either way it goes, you're probably looking at either Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning coming into town, which will be a hot ticket. UCLA, you go down the line. I think a lot of people are kind of disrespecting UCLA with Chip Kelly and our boy Dante Moore from Detroit there. So that's going to be a big game, especially after Moore has his second year in there. And USC on the road, we'll be able to see how Lane Kiffin's able to retool after Caleb Williams leaves. We're not even going to talk about that team in Columbus because nobody cares. But yeah, we're actually set up with a home and away with Texas. We go to Austin in 27, and then what a lot of people are. I think we're going to get to the 2025 schedule, so I'll save that.
We're not going to do that tonight. We're just hitting on 24.
Oh, okay. So yeah, a lot of people aren't even talking about it. We have a home and away with Oklahoma coming up in 2025. We go to Norman, and then they come to Ann Arbor in 26. So all the talks of our cupcake non-conference schedule is about to go away here in a second.
Yeah, their schedule this year is it's about as easy as it was last year, with the exception of maybe one game. But Michigan's always been known, with the exception of a few years prior, they had a really tough non-schedule, and they always took the tough games. So it is shocking to see when they don't really play anybody worthy. And I don't know if that sets them up well going into the Big Ten season. Rich, you see that schedule. I'll put it back up on the screen. Do you see a situation where Michigan really struggles being, coming in Big Ten, back-to-back Big Ten championships, don't really know what's going to happen this year? Everything's kind of lining up for that to maybe be the case. Sorry, Tim. But this is going to be kind of a clean slate for this Michigan team going into this schedule. That's pretty huge. What do you think about it?
I think the Texas game, it's going to definitely be a fun one, kind of like what JP said. It's going to be a fun one.
That'll be a tailgater.
I mean, for the home, Michigan State, even though they're really not, we'll just say haven't been much of anything, but then again, it seems like every year you're always, as JP will say, clutching your pearls during that game sometimes. The road games. I mean, Ohio State still scares me. Ohio State on the road. I mean, that still scares me. And USC will scare me on the road as well. So, I mean, just because it's new, it's going to be exciting, right? It's going to be on the road. It'll definitely be interesting.
And what about Wisconsin? How fast is Luke Fickell going to have them turned around? I know with transfer with Mordecai this year from SMU, they might put up some points this year.
Well, look what he did in Cincinnati. He made them relevant within 2 seasons, and it's kind of a unfortunate for that school that he got him right here, and then I'm out, bye. So. Good point. He's
not the first coach that has done that to Cincinnati either. So
no. Chip Kelly, or not Chip Kelly, Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly.
But fake ass Louisiana accent, Brian Kelly.
I got the Cajun.
Me and my family.
Me and my family. Okay, Forrest.
I was gonna say I didn't know Forrest Gump was there.
But yeah, you're right, JP. Fickell is he's a defensive-minded coach, and what does Wisconsin kind of sell themselves as a linebacker use? So I think that's a good fit.
It's interesting.
It's a good point. I think there's. Go ahead.
He's opening up that offense. It's since I've been old enough to remember college football, it was Ron Dane and Monty Ball and pound the ball, pound the rock, Jonathan Taylor and. It's going to be crazy to see Wisconsin. Yeah. It'd be weird to see Wisconsin open it up.
Yeah, it will be. And I think they're going to be competitive. The Big Ten's better when they are. So as much as you and I are not friends of that town, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Moving on to our, I'm not even going to say little brother. I'm not even going to say that. We're just still waiting on, we're still waiting on their head coach to come, but we won't, do not come. Maybe he comes this year. Well, maybe he comes in 24. I don't know, because he's losing recruits. Players are transferring out, and you know, shame on me. I apologize to the Spartan fans we have out there. You know, Michigan went through a rough patch, and it sucks. So you're experiencing that right now. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. And if I was on screen right now, you would see that I got my fingers crossed. So, Rich, this schedule.
Look how bad that home schedule is. Could you imagine being season ticket holder for that?
Yeah, this schedule looks pretty daunting. The road schedule looks pretty daunting too. I guess we'll keep it simple. Like, where do you see a win on this schedule? Just seeing the direction where they're going with recruiting, with people hitting the transfer portal. Do you see hope with Mel Tucker and the Michigan State Spartans?
You could take that schedule down, because I can just go ahead and tell you they might win one game. It'd be their first game. That's about it.
Wow.
dude. They, I mean, unless he manages, unless his players are dogs on the field, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's losing. It's like he's got a hole in his pocket and money's falling out of it. You want to talk about a fleece job? That guy absolutely fleeced Michigan State. And then here's the thing: is Michigan State don't have the money to get rid of him, so they're stuck with him.
Yeah. And now they just lost their number one fundraiser. He decided to put all his eggs in his basketball team, which he's destroying.
Who? Ishbia? Did he say he's not going to help him out?
He said he's no longer going to be contributing. He pulled his name out. So
smart man. That's probably the best business decision he's made.
Well, he's got to pay Durant, and he's got to pony up enough money to bring Booker back. But that's a whole nother episode.
But I mean, he absolutely fleeced them. And you know what? He's left every other school he's been at, but he's not going to leave this one, because he knows it's the gravy train of cash that's coming in.
Yeah.
And then once he's done with this, you'll probably never hear about him again.
Yeah. There's no question.
I'm not a Spartan fan, man, but we got to give Tuck at least year 4 and 5, man, before we start talking like this.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It took Harbaugh all of 5 years to get it going.
Well, I mean, you look at the road he's on right now. It doesn't look very promising. The fact that he's losing recruits, his top 3 players hit the portal, and as
far as the money goes that they're paying him, I mean, I think they kind of had to. If you look at like what the Pistons did with Monty Williams, making him the highest paid coach in the league.
What did you call it? The Detroit tax? You called it the Detroit tax? I like that.
So I think they had to lay the Spartan tax on him if they weren't going to pay him that kind of money. I think he's with the SEC ties. I think LSU or somebody was coming for him.
Yeah, well,
they probably should have came and took him.
Tuck going. Yeah, I think there's a lot of Spartan fans that wish he was going. We'll kind of detour from the 24 season. Look to this season with you, Tim. Michigan State coming into the the horseshoe. This year, primetime game.
Yeah. Don't waste your money going. It's gonna be a bloodbath.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, you got to feel bad for those kids. But then again, I mean, there's a famous picture of some crying Buckeyes on a game when Michigan State went down and stunned them.
I don't want to talk about 2015.
Yeah. So who knows? You never know in college basketball or college football, but. Yeah, you don't like their chances, but I'll stay with you, Tim. Looking at that Michigan State schedule, what's the over/under? 4 on wins? Would you say?
I'd say about 4.5. I'd give them 4 wins. It's a pathetic schedule, and if they can't get 4 wins out, You got to look at getting rid of them out of the Big Ten almost.
You guys got to remember you're projecting 2 seasons away right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
new recruits, new players.
I mean, and that's kind of why I didn't really want to hit on 25 at the moment, because you have recruiting classes that we know is coming in 24. You see what's happening in East Lansing. You see what's happening in Ann Arbor and in Columbus. So you kind of get an idea what we think right now might happen, but it's just speculation at this point. But I mean,
with the NIL, it's hard to even project next season, let alone 2 or 3 seasons out.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
That's a really good point. The death blow to college.
So are we preparing our trips to Southern California next year or what? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, we're already coordinating with our friend Jen. I said, looks like we're going to Southern Cal next year, and she's like, let's do it. Worst person to give an idea to, because she does it. She bought.
That should be all booked up before, and then you should be like, all right, you guys are like, I'm not going.
We'll find a way. We will find a way. All right, Tim, I'm going to come right back to you here. This is your boys in scarlet and gray. You're going to get Michigan at home this year. You're also going to get year. I'm sorry.
That's
this year, meaning in 2024. The home schedule looks. I don't know what happened with my my graphics scrunched together, but I mean the home schedule looks.
The only game on there that worries me is the Michigan game. But every year Ohio State's known for laying an egg against somebody out of the Big Ten West that won't be the Big Ten West no more. So like Illinois, Iowa. Someone like that always gives Ohio State a run for their money.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just had a Buckeye admit that he's worried about Michigan coming into Columbus.
Oh, wow.
That is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Holy mackerel.
After the past 2 years, I can't say nothing. Like I was telling you the other day, Tom, if we lose this year, Ryan Day's got to go.
Oh, I mean, he's gonna look like Steve Bartman getting out of Wrigley Field. They're going to have a security detail on him.
Gene Smith actually said,
I think
he doesn't consider the Michigan game a rivalry no more. He's more worried about winning championships. It's just one game.
That's that Ohio State arrogance. Oh, geez, Pete's.
I think you boys are sleeping on UCLA a little bit too hard.
Well, I agree with you. And they're on the road schedule. That road schedule looks pretty daunting. I'll put it up again. You got Penn State, which I think people are sleeping on Penn State. Not a big fan of Franklin. He kind of gets them there and then peters out.
I think Penn State's getting all the fanfare, actually.
Well,
I have a reason to go to the Rose Bowl to watch the UCLA game at least. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. So I guess realistically, the biggest matchup on that schedule for Ohio State is Michigan and UCLA. They, look at what they did to Utah in that stadium. So that'll be something to look forward to. Do you see yourself maybe getting to any games on the schedule or?
I always go down to Columbus at least once a year, maybe twice. I try to go to the Michigan game every year when it's in Ann Arbor. But like I said, going out to the Rose Bowl for the UCLA game would probably be cheaper than actually going to the Rose Bowl, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess really quick, I meant to ask you, your fandom with Ohio State, where did it begin?
Just in middle school. You can never make money if everybody likes the same team. So, hockey, I had to go to Colorado. Football, I had to go to the Buckeyes.
Yeah, he's
opposite.
So a bit of a fair weather fan.
Got dropped on my head as a kid.
So I got a question for you, Tim.
All right.
So with the departure of C.J. Stroud this year, what's the quarterback situation in Columbus looking like?
Devin Brown had surgery, so Kyle McCord's probably going to get it regardless because of the thumb surgery Brown had. A lot of people don't know McCord and Harrison Jr. played high school ball together, so hopefully that chemistry kind of picks right back up. But, I mean, we got a new quarterback, so it's always up in the air with that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Ohio State has a track record of just plug and play. So, but I think the difference coming into this year, and I think your daughter's saying hello.
Hi, Lindsay.
I think the difference going into this year is the fact that we haven't seen McCord a whole lot. So I don't think a lot of fans will know what to expect.
So 2 years ago, I went to the Akron game. It was a night game, and Stroud got hurt, and so McCord ended up playing. And it was his freshman year, but he didn't look very good.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're
I was a freshman, third game in, but
I was expecting you to say against Akron he lit it up or something. So
no, it was a bad game. Yeah, I think they won by 50. But you expect to win by more against Akron. 50 is not enough.
well, in-state rivalry and all, so you never know. But do you give me a prediction? Over under wins? Would you say 10 is a good number for that?
I'd set it at 11.5. It's just the Michigan game you got to worry about. Do you see them winning that game?
That's
bold.
Wow.
That's a bold move, Cotton.
Mr. Tim is high on his Buckeyes. No question about it.
Now I would take the under because of the Michigan game.
Oh,
but
yeah. Oh, he's giving us the win now.
Yeah, that might be something we could pony up a beer or two for, because we don't condone.
Have you ever went to Indianapolis, Tim?
Actually, I was down there the year Michigan played in 21, but I was in the hospital at the time, so I didn't go to the game.
That's a good experience.
Yeah, you did go. You had a good time, and it was a close game for 2 quarters, and then Michigan, the rest is history. So I think we're going to get a little bit more talk when it comes down the line. We'll hit on the 25 season. I don't know if we'll do that necessarily anytime soon. Maybe midway towards the end of the season, kind of get an idea where Michigan State and Ohio State will be with that. So going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing UCLA, USC coming in, and don't forget UCLA coming into the Big Ten basketball schedule is pretty huge too. So I think people kind of forget about that. They're a juggernaut in college basketball, so that legitimizes that conference for sure. So
plus Bronny James going to USC.
Yeah, and
I'm glad he didn't choose Ohio State. I'm so glad he left for USC.
Will he play? Will he be part of that? I don't think so. I think he's a one and done. Because of his name, he'll be a one and done. So I don't think we'll see him on the schedule coming through in 2024. But who knows? He wanted to blaze his own path, and I give him credit for that. He didn't want to do what everyone else thought he was going to do. So we'll see. Personally, I think his name is going to get him drafted. I don't know if he's got the skill ability, but we'll get into that as the season gets closer. So moving on to a topic that I don't think many of our viewers or listeners would have thought we would ever get into, golf. But we are, because it's huge news coming out of the PGA, the LIV Tour merger. Don't call it a merger. Not really sure what's happening at this point, but we do know that they're joining teams along with the DP World, which is the European golf tour. They're all going to join hands. Not sure when that's going to happen. Nothing's signed on the dotted line. JP, again, like I referenced earlier, we're not big golf fans. We'll watch it. We'll play because you know what? The cart girls are cute and I like to drink beer, and we'll get one of our 126 shots. We'll be good and it'll feel good. So we like to golf. What was your initial reaction to this news, looking at it as a non-fan?
Looking at it as a non-fan, the only reaction there is to it is anything can be bought, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I got on it. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, knowing the history, knowing the what little history there is between the two leagues, will say the players that jumped with LIV, the players that stayed with PGA, that kind of had some choice words a la Roy McIlroy. Now they're going to be kind of joined together. That's bigger than golf, in my opinion. I think that's that brings kind of like a fighting tactic. So these guys are going to have to play together, we're going to assume. So it's going to make for interesting TV.
Yeah, I would say so.
Rich, I know you probably are kind of on the same page as JP. What were your thoughts?
Eventually you're going to see a lot of sports do exactly what, kind of like if you look at like what they're doing with the conferences and football, right? Or they're merging or they're adding or whatever. So it's not a surprise that this happened. It was just only a matter of when it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen this soon. Yeah, some of the big names, like your DJs and stuff like that, made tons of money, going to the LIV, leaving the PGA. And you've got some guys who stayed with the PGA just because of the fact that of the history behind the PGA, right?
Yeah.
You brought up Rory McIlroy. He was one of the ones. And I mean, he was quoted as saying, after the announcement of the merger, he's like, I still hate the LIV, but I'm going to have to do what I got to do. Right. Then he also said, the guy, LIV says pretty much,
we don't want it.
Pretty much said, yeah, we don't want you. And so, McIlroy comes out, how do I feel? Because I spoke how I felt about the entire situation. He feels like he's going to be the sacrificial lamb.
Exactly.
Which very well it could happen. But he was quoted as saying this morning that he was the LIV guy. What the hell is his name off the top of my head? I'd tell you how much I know about that. But he went on to saying that he was very impressive or very impressed with him.
Yeah.
So it's like, is he trying to save face maybe to still be able to stick around, collect a paycheck and
coach
everything like that? But the thing is it was going to happen. It's just a matter of time. It was going to happen. Do I think it's going to benefit the game? I think in the long run, it will. Maybe 3, 5, 10 years down the road. Yeah, it could definitely, make a difference with the game. But, it's only time will tell, right?
Right.
And all I know is those Saudis got a shit ton of money,
yes,
and they're not afraid to spend it.
No.
So
I don't think we're having this conversation this year if it wasn't for Brooks Koepka winning the PGA Championship. I think at that point, both sides realized, all right, come on. LIV says we've got the best golfers in the world. PGA says we kind of wish we still had those guys. So they came in and kind of cornered the PGA. So it's tough. It's tough because you mentioned the Saudis. We're not a political show, and we're not going to go down that road. But we all know the games, we'll say, that they play, how they operate, the things they'll fund, we'll say. And it's not very conducive to how we operate in the United States.
Well, if you also think about it, it's not just the Saudis. It's that entire region that are very devoted to their, the religious beliefs and everything like that. Think of the World Cup.
Yeah.
World Cup goes, hey, no problem. You guys will be able to sell beer. You'll be able to do this. You'll be able to do this.
Not so fast.
Okay, no problem. Hey, sorry guys, no beer in our country. Screw you guys or whatever. So
but if you're in a suite, we're gonna load you up. If we got you covered.
Yeah. Because they'll make money off that, right?
Right.
And that's the thing you got to look at is like they're gonna do what they feel is right to them morally, not necessarily what traditionally we would believe to be acceptable, right?
Sure.
And it's kind of one of those things. It's either going to be one of the two things. It's either going to turn off a lot of people, or people are still going to be like, you know what? I don't care. I like golf. Yeah. I just want to watch golf.
Sure.
Etc.
Yeah.
And so it remains to be seen, right?
Yeah. Tim, do you see this? I'm not sure your fan level of golf. We haven't had that conversation, but Do you see this as a situation where it's going to be good for golf, or will there be some backlash if this does come to fruition?
I'm not a big golf fan, but it's got to be better to have all the players on the same tour instead of separating half the good guys over here and half the good guys in this league. I kind of feel bad for the guys like Rory and Tiger who didn't take all the big money to go. Not that Tiger needs 800 million, but 800 million is better than none.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I can't see it being bad. You get some backlash probably from, certain people, but
Sure.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's the old adage will come into play. The more it goes, the more seasons come, people just forget about it. News cycles are usually 2 weeks, so I don't see it being something that's going to be drawn out. You're going to have your backlash, and I think the one thing that is shocking about this story, we won't cut too much more time into it, but these players didn't know about it. They found out via Twitter or text messages. So you got guys like Colin Morikawa, the PGA. I love finding out morning news on Twitter. I mean, to me, that's kind of a slap in the face to the guys that are out there, representing your brand in the PGA. Rich, do you think this is just kind of dirty pool by the PGA for not really letting the players know ahead of time that this is something that might be on the horizon?
I don't necessarily really the players are, I guess, all they are, they're just players. I mean, if the NHL wanted to merge with the KHL, they have every right to, right?
Yeah.
It's not like it's a publicly traded company. It's not like it's owned by the players or anything like that. So really, it was a business deal for the PGA executives, and I mean, that's all you can really do, right?
And the players are more or less, it's an individualized sport, so they're like independent contractors, we'll say.
Yeah.
So
they're going to go with and the PGA is going to look out for the PGA. They're not
Sure.
going to look out for how much money each guy's getting, everything like that. All they're saying is like, look, we have an opportunity to make billions of dollars and do nothing.
Yeah, and
they're
certainly
like,
did.
Like, do we take the $1 billion, or do we say, you know what, we're going to stand by our convictions and say we don't agree with LIV? Instead, they just sold their souls to the devil, pretty much.
Sure. Yeah. So
I'm sure
it'll be interesting.
Boys down in Northville and West Bloomfield are upset about this news, huh?
Probably not. I wouldn't assume so. But it'll be interesting to see it play out. There are some lawsuits being filed, and there's some people that are unsure if this is actually going to happen. But personally, I think it will, because, like Rich, you said, money talks, and you can't really run away from rumors of $650 billion. But we'll see. This will be breaking probably throughout the rest of the golf season. Look forward to season 2 of Full Swing on Netflix, when the cameramen were with some of the PGA guys as the news broke. So apparently they got some good footage on that. If you have not seen Full Swing on Netflix, it is a must-watch documentary. Gives you a different view of golfers. It's pretty cool. It's worth checking out. To another sport that this Easyspeak rarely ever, if ever, covers for reasons we won't go. Lionel Messi says no thanks to the aforementioned Saudis who offered him $1.6 billion to join one of their leagues. He says, yeah, I'm out. Sorry. Comes to Inter Miami, who basically is the Detroit Tigers of the MLS. It's David Beckham is ownership of this team. So he comes over to the MLS. This is probably the biggest name, one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in will be proper football. Now he's coming to MLS, which really it has traction. I don't think it has a lot of traction, but I know, Rich, you wanted to talk about this particular topic. What does this mean for the MLS?
Well, I can tell you right now, it's huge for the MLS. And the reason why it is huge for the MLS is because Messi is the largest name in professional football, European football, soccer here in the United States, right? So what that means for them is a worldwide presence of viewers potentially. They are going to come in and they're going to watch MLS soccer. So, you look at Lionel Messi over the years. Lionel Messi has made about 1.5 billion over the course of his career. He's 35 years old.
He doesn't need
So
money.
he's made, yeah. So, so really like the 1.6 million, he's probably like, and that was over 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
That was over 3 years. So, it's still a shit ton of money, but from a guy who's, his net worth, I think, even though he's made $1.5 billion, he exactly $1 billion. His net worth is only like 600 million. You got to think tax, probably some of his business ventures are not good or anything like that. So, but with that being said, he's not just the first name out of the European soccer that has come over to play in the MLS. If you remember David Beckham came over. David Beckham was really big in he was big into the English Premier League. He played for Manchester United, I believe. Man U. He came over. He made a pretty immediate impact with the MLS, with the LA Galaxy. He did get like some ownership ability in that, but when he played in LA, he played 98 games. He scored 18 goals, 32 assists, and he also led the Galaxy to 2 MLS championships. So very successful for him. Another guy, Frank Lampard, he was from Chelsea, big name in English football. He came over. He played 29 games in MLS, scored 15 goals, 4 assists. I got all these notes written down because I was so excited to talk about this. And then Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was also very big. He played it with Man City, Man U, in the English Premier League. He came over, played for DC United. He had 32 goals, 13 assists, and only did that in 48 games. So that level that comes in there, what it does is you get a player that comes in who performs that well, and English Premier League soccer or anything over in Europe is just far superior than MLS. So when you have the opportunity to lock somebody in, to bring them in, they do produce. Doesn't matter how old they are, because some of these guys that you got, they were well past their prime for Premier League or Liga or any of the other leagues throughout Europe. You bring them in here, they perform well, they get butts in the seats and everything like that, which is cool. But some of the details on Messi's contract that he's getting. So his contract will range anywhere between 125 million to 150 million. That's the range that they give. So it's the low end is 125, and then 150 on the higher side. He's eligible for some salary bonuses, and I'm sure those are based off of performances. He gets an equity stake in the team. So he's like 35. I make a shit ton of money. And I don't need it from the Saudis. I'm setting this up for longer term. They didn't say how many years it was going to be. And then he also, from what I've heard and read a little bit, was Apple Plus is the provider for MLS soccer games to be watched. So there's a
they have
potential. There's a potential that any new subscribers from a certain date going forward, he would get a percentage of the shares, because obviously people who are Messi fans who want to see Messi, the only way they can see him is you have to subscribe to Apple Plus in order to see the MLS games.
So he's gonna be bringing in the traffic.
Yes,
individually.
And then when you look at that, and then there's a couple other things. Adidas has got something in the works for him as well. But when you look at it, it's kind of like, yeah, he could have taken the $1.6 billion and then over 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Then you're locked in
Right.
to that 3 years.
But there's
Now
no
he's got,
extras.
yeah,
You don't have
now he's
other business extras.
exactly, and he's like, all right, I'm getting to the point in my career where I'm up in age. I might be only be able to do this for a couple more years. I'm gonna go and kind of diversify myself a little bit. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
do that. I'm gonna get a part stake in a team. Maybe that's what he want. Maybe he wanted to do that
Right.
at some point where he wanted to have maybe some ownership of a team. This afforded him the opportunity,
Mhm.
honestly, at no cost out of his pocket.
And I did read where he was wanting to get his family out of Europe specifically. So since he was not going to get picked up by his old club, we'll call it,
Yeah.
he wanted to leave Europe. So, and this was just kind of made a lot of sense. I know tickets started going through the roof. I was reading stats on StubHub. They're like the third or fourth highest ticket sales on StubHub, and they have yet to print. Fanatics has the contract to do the jerseys, and they have not started printing the jerseys until the contract is basically done. But they're expecting to have massive amounts of numbers coming in.
And I think that's where he's going to get his Adidas money at,
Right.
is based off of jersey sales, which,
Mhm.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I own a Messi jersey.
Ooh.
I do.
Is this breaking news? Is this
No,
breaking?
it's not. It's not breaking news. No.
Well, I know
But
little Ryan, your son, is a fan.
he does have a Messi jersey as well. Yes, for sure. He's got a Messi kit for sure. But when you look at it from the perspective, he's 35 years old. He's played. I mean, he's played at the pinnacle of his career, and he's won championships everywhere he's played at.
Sure.
I mean, it's only fitting that he just got done winning the World Cup, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, he's done everything that
he's won at every level.
Yes,
So.
and then for him maybe when he comes here, maybe he adds an MLS trophy to the showcase, and then when he does that, he'd be like, "Look, anywhere I go and play in the world, I can win. I can be successful." So I'm looking forward to it.
Do you see any more world-class players maybe following suit within the next couple of years and doing what he did, or what he's going to do?
Yeah, I think you'll probably get some. I don't know exactly who that might be right now because I don't follow the European soccer as much as I used to. But normally this kind of goes every couple of years where you'll get somebody that who's getting to the leg end of the career and
but has value in this league.
It definitely has value in the States. And that's the thing is, over there is like those guys. I mean, for somebody like David Beckham, I think David Beckham played in there till he was like 32, 35 range. Wayne Rooney the same way. I mean, those guys that play at that level at that age in those leagues. I mean, those leagues. I mean, it's funny. Like, I joke with a guy at work. He's really big into the Italian league. He's a big Inter Milan fan and everything like that. And I always tell him, I said, anytime you watch one of those, I said, the team mostly spends most time on the ground grabbing their shins. I always joke with him and tell him the Italian league is a bunch of sissies, but when you look at it, I mean, those guys, they're very well trained, and they train well in order to perform at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan, as we stated earlier. I did watch some of the World Cup, and man, those guys are just, I mean, they're running all over the field, and they do a lot of running for not a lot of scoring. So, I guess I think I know the answer to this question. I know you're going to pay more attention. Will the average, not so much soccer fan, maybe tune in a little bit more now that there's a bona fide superstar going to be in the league.
Well, if you, you sit and think about it. I probably won't pay too much attention to MLS. I'll still watch. I still watch Premier League for the most part.
Premier.
When I can watch it. I mean, you know who's a good person to talk to soccer about?
Momo.
Exactly.
And who was not on the lake today because of soccer?
Yep. There was a game.
Momo.
There was a game on today on the Paramount Plus.
It is last game of season. I have to watch.
It was it was at 3:00. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
shout out to Momo. Shout out to Momo.
But here's the thing: is one thing you have to realize is everybody's like, okay, NFL is the largest or is the most followed sport. It's not. Soccer is actually the most followed sport in the world, just because. But and the thing is with that is it's anybody can play. All you need is a ball in grass or ball in a field or ball in flat ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you see that.
That's a good point.
And a lot, some of these guys that end up being really great, or even the ones that are before my time and your time were great. They didn't go to these schools or these camps or play in these top tier leagues or whatever. They played on a dirt patch.
Yeah.
So I think there's the casual fan. You might get a couple more casual fans that watch it, but I think by having Messi over in the MLS in Miami, you are definitely going to get more eyes worldwide on the sport on MLS. We'll say.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going with that. I think it puts them on the map a little more so now than they were, say, a year ago. So it'll be interesting to see, what it does. Will that team benefit? I think they will. Like I said, they're the Detroit Tigers currently of the MLS, but I think that's going to change. So good talk. Rich, I have to admit, I did not know you were that versed in soccer. That's a shock to me. That's worth the breaking news tab, but we won't do it because we're going to move on to our next topic, our next segment that I know we're all pretty proud of, and we're looking forward to seeing what this does. It's the Misunderstood segment, focusing on men's mental health and just basic, issues that men deal with on a daily basis, whether it's, relationship, whether it's work issues, it's, whether, they feel like there's nowhere to turn for help. That's not the case. And we're here to help. And today we're going to talk about parenting struggles from a biological standpoint and a stepfather standpoint, like myself. Tim over on the other side has got both angles here. So we're going to ask him some questions about that. But we basically, parenting today presents many challenges, and it's not easy. And I'll get into my story here soon. But JP, we're going to start with you since you're the newest father on the panel. What challenges have you faced? I know Ensley's almost 5 weeks old now. What challenges have you faced with being a parent? I know you work midnights. That's a struggle. That's difficult. Yeah. So being you spent the first 2 weeks of her life right there with her. What are the challenges? Yeah. How has it been kind of working yourself back into the working field now that you're a dad?
Well, obviously, life was pretty busy before, and then you put a child into the mix that needs your full care 24/7, and it can be a little overwhelming at times trying to balance everything out and then making time also while having to sleep and work and chores and other miscellaneous things. So it's definitely rough, and it kind of works you a little bit, and I probably don't sleep as much as I used to. I don't feel bad for myself because she's probably sleeping less than I am. So
yeah,
it's a lot. It's a mental gymnastic, I would say, for sure. It'll probably pay off when she starts to get a little bit bigger, but at the same time, trying to cherish all these moments right now.
So I guess my next question is, you were there obviously when she was born, 2 weeks with her, and then you go back to work. Like, were you dealing with some stuff internally, not having her? I know we had a conversation when you were about to go back, like you didn't know how you were going to handle it. How has it been with that separation? You worked 10 hours a day. You figure there's 12 hours a day basically that you're not around her. How has that been?
That's rough. I mean, we have an owlet system hooked up in her bassinet, so she normally lets me know when she puts her to bed, so I can at least see her. You know what I mean? I can pull my phone out and look at her. But you try to make the most of the weekends before work.
Yeah.
After work, I mean, like I said, I'm waking up a little bit earlier now. I'm staying up. I usually go and get her as soon as I get home. So it's been, like I said, it's raw. It's physically taxing, but it's worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah, I never got to experience that. If everybody knows, I am a stepfather, but I never got to experience what it was like to have children of my own.
I will say one thing though, man, is I'm not a panicker, and I can handle pretty much almost any situation. I kind of underestimated the realness of it going into it. I was like, it's a pretty real situation. I think Rich and Tim can attest to raising newborn children, how it's there's definitely no directions or no
you don't have
that comes with it.
You don't have a Joe Lara manual?
No, they're all different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Rich, Ryan is 13 now.
Ryan just turned 13.
Jacob is almost 16. He's going to be driving, so watch out, ladies and gentlemen. Watch out.
Stay off the sidewalks.
But similar background, steel industry. You did work midnights for many years when your sons were young. How did you handle that separation, and then the time differences where the sleep work-life balance? Like, what were some of the things that you did as they were growing up?
Well, the first I want to say the first 12 weeks, 3 months. Yeah, I think 3 months. What really was tough was not being there to help out, in the middle of the night. You got to get up, and then the transitioning part from when she had gone back to work, and then we were trying to juggle between her going to work, and then I was working midnights at the time. So we were fortunate enough to have a lot of help with the care aspect of it, where my in-laws at the time were great. I mean, they would take them. Kelly would drop them off in the morning. She'd bring them back, stuff like that on the days that the days that I would have to come home and go to sleep. But then and then the days that I were off, because my days rotated off during the week, so I might be off like a Tuesday, night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, or something like that, and then just staying up that day and staying up all day and taking care of them and stuff like that. I tell you right now, the bassinet swing was probably the best invention. Whoever made that invention, they should be kissed. It should be kissed and hugged and everything else like that. Maybe given a Nobel Peace Prize, because that affords you a little bit of sanity to get a couple, 2-hour nap in the mornings before you really, shove off to do stuff. So, but then with Ryan, I was on day shift, and we had awesome help and care and everything like that. I was on a Monday through Friday schedule, so we were very fortunate with that. So, but like JP said, there is no instruction manual.
Right, you're kind of on the
there is, and it's what it is, and I'll be honest, and Tim will probably agree with me, JP agree with me. It's instinct is what it is. It's all, you're going all based off of instinct. You might not know what the hell you're doing.
You watched your parents raise you growing up, and you kind of take a little bit from what what you saw growing up, how they handled things, and you kind of make it your own. So that definitely,
I call it parental troubleshooting, because when they start crying, all right, do they need the pacifier? Are they hungry? Is their
that's a good
diaper
point.
wet? Did she take a
you're
shit?
looking at your watch. You're like, yeah, it's time to eat.
Right.
Or then you got that nose.
Yeah.
Your nose is so much better now. You're like,
so you guys might think we're crazy. So since she was born, we have a journal with literally every pee, every poop, every time she's eaten, what time she's taking her vitamin D drops. Literally everything gets written down just for like a note, so we remember.
Well, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Tim, I'm going to come to you. You told me before we went on air that you're a biological and a stepfather.
Yes.
Tell me some of the challenges that you face with having a stepchild and a biological. Do you run into situations where one feels more needs more attention than the other, or is it a situation where they get along real well?
My daughter will be 14 at the end of this month, so it's not really too big of an issue, and they get along. You know, she can understand. She's babysits sometimes and all that. Or
my
stepson, he'll be 6. His real father's not in the picture, so I'm kind of his dad,
so
to speak. But to me, it's still like I don't want to overstep certain boundaries, being the step parent.
Sure.
But hey, they get along pretty well. It's fairly easy. Our 6-year-old's a party animal, so he doesn't like staying up all night. So that sucks, waking up at 5 a.m. But like for night.
So I guess that leads into my next question. You mentioned that the father's not around, so
right.
you're the primary, we'll say.
Right.
How does your stepson? I'm sorry. How does your stepson look at you? Does he look at you as his father, or does he still kind of, because this will lead into what I'm going to say, how I kind of deal with things being a stepdad.
So he calls me dad, and I'm okay with that.
That's awesome.
I came into his life when he was at 2. And
okay.
With his mom, we actually dated like in 2013. We took a break. She went her way. She had a kid. I went my way. I got in a little bit of trouble, whatever. I'm not going to talk about all that. So when COVID hit, we actually started talking again, and we got back together. And so like me and her already had our relationship established and built. It was kind of just fill in and be the dad. And
that's awesome. That's really cool. In my situation, I have 2 stepdaughters. Their father is in the picture, but Rich can attest. It's a challenge. It's a challenge in a sense that he likes to play mind games with the girls. The girls basically grew up watching him kind of destroy their mom for the first several years of their life. Matter of fact, the oldest, the first thing she told me when I met her was, my dad abuses my mom. And hearing that right out the chute let me know that this is going to be a tough road, because there's already some patterns that has been established. So I knew going in that it was going to be a tough. My wife's ex-husband, similar to my ex-wife. So I kind of played that game. I knew where he was coming from. But when you're talking about kids, you're talking about a brain that's not developed yet. And when you're talking about a guy that's kind of playing into that, it's tough. So the transition days, when they come over, there's always a test. What can I get away with? And it never fails. Rich knows all too well. They try, but we have a different kind of a parenting system that they're not used to seeing. They're not used to seeing a family dynamic. They're not used to seeing their mom and somebody being in, a loving relationship. They're not used to seeing love and affection being displayed. So that is different. And up until recent times, they always thought that was weird because it's a revolving door for their father. He's at a baker's dozen right now of women that he's introduced his daughters to. And I think that's horrendous. I think that's bad parenting because it sets a bad example. They're definitely at an age where they see what their dad really is. And they come to us, they kind of vomit a lot of things on us. And I guess the number one rule is to never, say anything negative towards their dad. You take in the information that they give you, and we do the best we can to try and teach them that maybe that's not the best thing to do, and some things that he has said to his daughters are not proper. So there's a lot of times that our visits with them we're building them back up because they come to us and they're just beat down to the ground. So it is tough. It's really tough, and it's a struggle when you have to take them back, knowing that you just spent 3-4 days building them up. We tell the oldest one, build your armor, because it's a whole nother podcast that we can get into, but she's 14 years old and she's questioning, what she wants to do, who she is. So she's at that age, and he is not about it. He thinks she should be a certain way, and she's very, very thick-skinned, and she's very determined to be who she wants to be, and I'm proud of her for that. So, but it makes for a difficult transition period. Rich, your sons are at that age. They both have phones. Social media is a big distraction, and I think we all know that these kids these days are faced with more information than we ever were. So it's hard to relate. How do you, as a dad, with co-parenting with your ex-wife, how do you kind of limit what they can see on their phones, and do you kind of watch from afar what they do?
So, both of my boys have phones. My soon-to-be 16-year-old son just got Instagram. We just allowed him to get Instagram. And the reason why we did it, and he asked, and it was we felt it was logical reason. There's somebody who takes photos for his baseball team, for his high school baseball team, and he posts them all on Instagram. That's fine.
Yeah.
That was one thing. We did let him have Snapchat at one time. Then he lost his Snapchat privileges for a little while. We've allowed it back on, but there was definitely some, some stuff going on that we needed to make sure that he understood that it wasn't proper. It wasn't right. But one of the things is, when it comes to that, is their mother and I are on the same page when it comes to just about everything when it involves the kids. It's, we do things for them to protect them, but then we also do allow them a little bit of freedom. But then they know that if they overstep the boundaries on the freedom, that it can quickly go away. But I'm very fortunate enough to where I have an unbelievable, co-parenting partner with me through this, and it's all about making sure that we do everything that is right for them, and that's it.
That's awesome. And Rich was reading the agenda, apparently, because that was my next question, or I guess statement, we'll say.
I wasn't reading it.
He has a very rare situation where his ex-wife and him are very close. They have a lot of understanding. Their respect level for one another is outstanding, and I could only wish that was the situation that we were in. But it's a rarity, and it's awesome to see when the two parents can kind of put aside whatever, but the focus is on the kids, because the kids are the ones that are going to benefit the most. And that's one thing that we have to figure out as stepdad, mom, him on the other side. Like, what is this going to do? What's the effect of all this negativity that they're faced with? How is that going to affect them down the road? So it's a, and I'll kind of repeat what JP said. There's no manual. I don't know. I'm doing this on the fly. So each day, each visit's a little bit different, and it's a learning experience. And I just try to be the best I can to build them up. But JP, I guess we're going to close this out, and I'll go around table. JP, what obviously Ensley's 5 weeks. We're a long ways away from technology and this and that. What is your biggest fear as a father?
Well, I think my biggest fear is just, the affairs and what's going on in the world today, I think having kids has kind of had my internal clock start. You think about how old you are when they're born and how old you're going to be when they graduate, and you start wondering if you're ever going to meet grandkids and all that stuff. And the biggest fear ultimately would probably be having to leave this world and leave your child behind to have to fend in this crazy world by themselves.
Right. Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, and that's powerful. You want to be their voice. You want to be their light moving forward.
Right.
And if you're not there, gosh, man, that you don't even want to think about that. That's awesome, JP. Tim, you got a 14-year-old daughter. She's basically right at that age. These kids are wiser than we were when we were younger. What's your biggest fear, I guess, as a dad? That's, like you said, she's 14. You have a 6-year-old stepson. What are some of the fears that you have?
So, like Rich said, it's kind of like you got to try to give them some freedom with social media, but at the same time, you got to keep them off certain things. Like she has a YouTube channel. She has 20,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot. And to me, like, I know half of those are probably creeps in the world.
Sure. Which presents a whole nother challenge.
Yeah. But I don't want to take away from her because she's having fun and she's doing nothing wrong.
Right.
So it's just like another thing I have to babysit and monitor. And then just like JP said, world affairs, what's going on in the world. Can I set my kids up for success when I'm not around?
Yeah, that's true. And I look at it the same situation where if my wife and myself aren't around, this is what my stepdaughters are faced with, and I couldn't imagine having to deal with that when he's the primary. It's bad enough the way the situation is. So, but that's good, and looking at the fine line between wanting to give your kids access. You want them to be able to feel like they have some privileges, but that comes at a cost. So knowing to balance when to say the right thing, how to say the right thing, that's tough. So great advice, guys. Again, this is a segment that I think we've talked about before. It's just important, and we're going to hit on other topics, with other shows here in the future that just hit on struggles that men face. I don't think men are equipped or given the right tools to know what to say or know how to handle such situations. They kind of shell up, and we want to hopefully help somebody down the road that might be struggling with that. I think that's important. And I'm going to bring Rich back in here for a final question. He had to step away. And same question as the other guys. What's your fear as a dad with sons that are, they're like right around the corner. They're going to be going to college.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, the only thing I worry about is, it's not that I'm worried about them making the right decision. I'm just worried about everything that goes on around, right? You as a parent, and I'm sure Tim can probably he touched on it or whatever. You kind of want to, allow your kids a little bit of the freedom, right? Remember as a kid, I remember my, me growing up, JP was probably the same way. Tom and Tim, you were probably still the same way. When you were a kid in the summertime, you'd leave in the morning on your bike. You come home when the street lights were on. Your parents didn't give a shit where you were at, what you were doing, as long as they knew that you were back home at that time. Times have changed. You can't really do that anymore. Did we have creeps back then? Sure did. Now, the way social media is now, and the way
they don't have to leave their house to be creepy.
Yeah. Well, not only that though, but I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's more mainstream now than it was before.
Yeah.
But I could say is, you gotta protect your kids. to a certain point, but then you also have to work on from when they're young up until the age that they are now to make the right choices, right? I think nowadays when you see some kids, parents really don't parent kids. And I think that plays a huge role in that is, hey, I can be your friend. It's not just the phone, Tom.
Yeah.
Relax. I'm going to take your phone away. But it's not like, I mean, it's not, it's not a phone. It's not this, but it's, you have to just find a medium, right? You got to find a medium, and you have to entrust a little bit of trust in your kids to make the right decisions. And you can be their friend, but you also have to be their parent as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think sometimes you get people who try to, be friends with their kids and want their kids to be part of the cool crowd,
Right.
or that, you want them to, do this or do that. I mean, I see people all the time now, like, kids are, Tim's going to face this reality in 2 years when he's going to have a daughter that's going to be driving. You're going to see her friends, parents going out and, buying him a $40,000 car. Listen, that ain't happening. Show me you can take care of this $1,500 car.
Yeah. Work your way up.
Make sure, well, just show me that you're responsible enough to take care of this, and then we'll talk about something else.
Car's outside in the driveway right now, and I'll get a new car.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things is, I talked to my son. I'm like, hey, this is what you're getting for your first car. He goes, as long as he gets me to basketball practice, or not basketball, baseball practice in school. He's like, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
So
sure.
What's he getting?
A 2023 Bronco 4-door. No, I'm just kidding.
Jeez.
No.
Big money.
No, he's getting a 2012 Ford Escape.
Nice.
Hey,
That's
nothing
wrong with that.
And just to clarify, the phone thing was, I think a lot of parents you see just giving them the phone and being like, just bug off. And I see that happening a lot. But again, great advice for new dads, established dads, stepdads. Anybody has any advice? Anybody needs help with anything? Please don't hesitate. Reach out to us. We're here. We're responsive. And we'll do our best to answer any questions you might have, or steer you in the right direction that you might need if you need help. So
just be careful. Tom might make a TikTok out of it.
I will not do that. I have boundaries that I follow. So moving on to, well, let's just face it. It's one of our funnest, most exciting segments. That's right. It's ain't my money, not my problem, where we give you a bet. You hit the app. Who knows if you hit, make some money, throw a little bit our way. We're going to start with our guest tonight, Mr. Tim.
I'm going to take the Buckeyes to win the next year.
Next 4 national championships.
Here comes the futures bet.
Hey, Tim, it ain't
Jackson
your money.
Smith-Ojigba is going to be.
All right, you two. That's enough. It ain't your money, so it's not your problem. What you got this week?
I have a parlay on the UFC bet tonight with Oliveira and Nunez both winning at plus 194. I think Oliveira is going to prove he deserves another shot for the lightweight title, and Nunez is just the baddest bitch on the planet.
There you go. Okay.
Bets go for JP. I do have one actually. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs as NFL Offensive Player of the Year at plus 12,000.
Oh, wow!
Damn!
All the talk coming out of camp, he just seems like he's Alvin Kamara. So you might get lucky, you might hit it.
All right, what's this guy's name?
Maybe we should all throw in on that.
Jahmyr Gibbs, 12,000.
12,500 for NFL Offensive Player
Wow,
of the Year.
that's crazy.
Well, look, I think as a group here, we can work up $100. Let's do 25 apiece on it.
For a guy coming into an offensive system that's
for running back.
designed for him. That's pretty.
It's not my money.
That look at Tim. Tim's already on board with it. JP, it ain't your money.
It's not my problem.
There you go. What
All
you
right,
got?
I'm going to go to Game 5 in the NBA Finals tomorrow night. Denver -9, which they've covered in the 3 wins so far. And I take the under 208 for plus 233. Also, in the 3 Denver wins, all games have went under 208. Miami's kind of had a hard time scoring.
Yeah, that was it was bad yesterday. I mean, it was bad game 3, but
yeah,
they came out flat, and I
think it's time to close.
Yeah, I think it'll be done tomorrow night. I think it's over with.
Goes back to Denver. It's
I mean, you got Jokic just playing out of his mind, and so that's a pretty safe bet. Rich, it's not your money.
Monday night, 8:30 tip off. I got the money line. I got Miami taking it at plus 320.
Wow.
They got to make this interesting. Come on now.
Jeez.
We got to stretch. He's trying to make money here, folks. That throw a couple bucks down, maybe win a couple bucks. So I don't think Miami's going to, lay down. I think they're going to give them maybe a quarter of hell, but I don't see any more than that. My pick this week, or did you have another one, Rich, or is that it? Okay.
No, that's it.
My pick
Here we
this
go.
week.
NASCAR.
There you go, buddy. You got it.
Oh, God.
Y'all like NASCAR? You ever watch NASCAR? It's kind of like drinking a fine wine. Shout out to Andy.
Left turn.
Yeah.
Left turn, Clyde. Left turn, Clyde.
Yep.
Go
Well, Clyde,
fast, make a left.
Clyde would be in the back seat shedding all over the place. Hair getting in my eye. I wouldn't be able to see. I'd turn right into the wall. But
there you go.
I'm going with the race tomorrow is in Sonoma. It's a road race. And who won the original road race this year? None other than Tyler Reddick. I think he's going to do it again. Plus 400. Give me Tyler Reddick to win in Sonoma, the road.
I'm going to follow up with you on that next week because that's once again another sport that I don't watch. So
yeah. Well, I have been fairly decent in what knowledge I have, and I don't have a lot, but I'm working my way to it. So
yeah.
Moving on to our final segment of the day, we kind of clear the air, get anything off your chest. Rich, what's your closing thoughts for this evening?
I really don't have anything this week just because I've had a shitty week at work. JP and I were texting earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday morning or something like that. Yeah, I got stuck at work, but those who work, you know what? Those who work in any type of heavy industry, make sure that you wear your personal protective equipment and don't get hurt in the middle of the night, please. Save guys like me from not getting any sleep.
Oof.
Yeah. Oh, that's why you told me you had a long night?
Yeah.
You want to call again?
I'm off call right now, so but this week, so I got called in and it was something that was very avoidable, and
it usually is.
Yeah. It's just something small. So if you work in the industry, if you ever have any if you ever run into a situation, just stop what you're doing and do the right thing.
Yeah.
JP,
that goes for everything.
I would normally go to you, but our guest here just happened to show me something
for you,
related to what you're saying.
I cut my finger off in tool and die about 4 years ago.
Folks, he's not flipping off the screen. He's showing you his
the nub.
Oh wow.
He's got a little stubby there.
Yep.
That probably comes in handy for some other things, right?
Well,
very good for it.
Hey, that'll be on another segment of Misunderstood. Tim, while I got you on the screen, you got anything you want to close out the show with?
Just as you were touching on earlier with the whole men in society, if anyone has any questions or issues, just reach out to us. We're here to help. Most of us have knowledge with 14-year-olds down to JP having a 5-week-old. We're here to help you guys. We're here to just an ear to listen to, shoulder to lean on.
Yeah, that's well said. JP, what's your closing thoughts?
Yeah. So I was watching the Tigers today, and I was thinking about the sad state of affairs for Detroit sports. So I have a little bit of build-up, and then I have a statement, and I want to know if you guys agree with me. So the Detroit Lions, no playoffs since 2016. Pistons, no playoffs since 2019. Wings, 2016, and Tigers, 2014. So, with that being said, there's a lot of buzz going on right now in Allen Park, and I kind of got to thinking that this was probably the most important and anticipated pro sports season that I can remember in my lifetime, that we have to have somebody win. And I was wondering if you guys agreed with that.
100%.
I agree so much. I bought season tickets.
100% I agree with that. My fear is the hype train is a little too hot right now, and they kind of get a little overinflated, but that's just the wishful thinking fan in me.
Yeah, I think we all need it like we need oxygen.
Yeah, especially after 8 straight losses of the Tigers, yet another shutout.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just getting bad. It's getting bad.
Yep.
My closing thoughts is if everyone doesn't know, they've been under a rock for the last, I don't know, a couple of days. Taylor Swift is in town this weekend. You want to talk about a hype train? You want to talk about madness and chaos? People
Dude, I'm
lining.
surprised you're not there.
Well,
the
better half was trying to get tickets, but not a Swiftie. But being able to be experience that would be pretty cool. But it's just crazy, and I think the craziest aspect of it is what people were asking on the secondary market for tickets. Up to $6,000 for one ticket to stand or sit on the floor for a 3.5-hour concert. It's just crazy. She's a hell of an entertainer, and I don't think for a second that it would be worth, I don't know, $75 to go see her. But it's just wild. Downtown was madness. Parking lots, I heard, were charging up to $200 for parking, and you got Tiger games going. So what happens? You're driving down to see that piss poor baseball team, and you go to park and you got to pay $200. You're like, I'm out. We're leaving. I'm getting out of here. But it's crazy, and seeing Matt Rife, the comedian, his tickets went on sale. Craziness. Now they're blowing up. I think Ticketmaster is just it's out of control, and I don't know how you fix it. I don't know how you fix the fees. And I'm surprised that these huge artists don't kind of put their foot down and demand change when it comes to that. Because these girls, these kids are paying thousands of dollars to see a show. It's just nonsense. But I'm going to jump off my soapbox there. But we tried to go. It would have been awesome, but not so much. I'm not paying more than $100 for a ticket. So. But anyways, great show tonight, guys.
Think about think about how much money you spent on Seven Dust tickets.
Oh, those tickets are cheap though, JP. That's one of the beauties. That's one of the beauties of my boys from Marietta, Georgia. They don't blow up their ticket prices. They're very reasonable. And
it's because they blow. That's why they don't blow their ticket prices up.
You have no idea, Rich.
What are you about? You're about 10K in, 20K
probably.
Maybe.
I've seen them about 125 times. So.
That's how the Swifties feel.
Yeah, well, maybe, but I'm not paying thousands for one ticket though.
1,200 to get in.
True.
So, yeah. But again, guys, thanks so much. Great show tonight.
Thanks, Tim, for coming on.
Yep, thank you, Tim, for adding your Buckeye knowledge, and we'll definitely have you on again to talk that. And you have a story that our viewers and our listeners are going to want to hear. That falls into the misunderstood segment category. So look for that in the incoming weeks. And next week we'll hit on the NBA and the NHL finals. I'm guessing that as JP shines the shocker in my face, I'm guessing they'll both be wrapped up by then. So we'll hit on that. Obviously there's news always coming out of Allen Park. So look for that. Probably next Sunday. This was a rare Saturday night in the Speakeasy. But again, thanks everybody for watching. We look forward to seeing y'all right back here next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of Easy Speak at Speakeasy330. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right back here next week for another fun-filled episode of Easy Speak